The other day I was making a list of books that I really want to read again, and as I was making the list and finishing it up, I thought this would be make a really lovely video as well. And these are books that I really want to read this year. Chances are extremely high that I will be reading these in fall and winter of 2026. 3 books on this list have already been planned with my Prose and Petticoats book club. And the first one that we will be reading is The Sorrows of Young Goethe by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I don't even remember when I read this. It could be last year or the year before, but I do remember quite a lot about it. It really intrigued me so much. It is a very short read. It's a novella, and it's about a man who becomes obsessed with a married woman. He loves her so much that he cannot get her out of his head, and he's basically being depressed about it all the time, but it is just so beautifully written, in my opinion, and so poetically beautiful, poetically depressing actually. And yes, I really wanted to return to this, and I thought this would be a nice pick for my book club. And this is a Penguin Classics edition. Another one I really wanted to reread because it blew me away was The Tenants of Wildfell Hall by Brontë, which we will also tackle with the book club. And I cannot wait to dive into this story again because it was so touching, so emotional. Such a page turner for me personally. I loved it so much, and it's actually become my favorite novel by the Brontë sisters. And this is about a woman who fled from her past. We don't know what happened, but as we go along, we learn about her trauma, about her struggles, and about why she had to flee from her life. Beautifully written, engaging, and if you haven't read it yet, then I highly recommend putting this on your list. I also have a review on my channel of this book, so if you're interested, go and check that out. Another one I picked for the book club is one by Thomas Hardy. It's A Pair of Blue Eyes, and I picked this one because I was reading it on a vacation in France. We were on a road trip, and I picked this book to travel along with me. And I must say, I was so intrigued. This was such a page turner. I couldn't stop reading. And I have such beautiful memories of this book. And it's actually my favorite book by Thomas Hardy. I haven't read them all yet. I'm working on it because I really want to read everything there is of Hardy. I think his books are deliciously depressing. I love it so much. The gloom and the atmosphere. And somehow nature also plays an important role in his books. So I really love this. And he had such an impact on me as an author as well. And so yes, A Pair of Blue Eyes is a book that we will be reading with the book club as well. If I remember correctly, this is about a young woman who is so beautiful, and there are 2 men who fall in love with her, and they're in some kind of contests about getting the girl, but it's so much more than that. And I feel like I'm not doing the novel justice when I explain it like that, but that's the best I can do. I'm sorry, but it's just such a beautiful book, and we will be reading it. I really cannot wait to return to this one. Okay, now for the books that aren't planned and that I will just be reading as I go through the rest of the year. I want to reread Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, and I now realize that there are 3 books by the Brontë sisters on my list. But Jane Eyre is a book that I thoroughly enjoyed at the time, but I've been reading classics for about 10 years now, and it was a classic that I've read a long time ago, so I want to see whether or not my opinions have changed about this. It's about a woman who becomes a governess at Thornton Hall, is it? Thornfield Hall, I'm sorry. I was confusing it with Thornton from North and South somehow. She goes to Thornfield Hall, and the owner of the estate is a very gloomy man. They fall in love, but he keeps a very dark secret. And so yes, this is on my list to read again. I will just continue with the Brontë sisters, because also on my list is Villette by Charlotte Brontë, also by Charlotte. I read this in New Zealand and on the plane back home. And I enjoyed it a lot. I also have a video. It's been a long time, so it's an older video, but I did talk about this. And the main reason why I want to return to this one is because it was gloomy. It was a perfect read for fall or for winter. And just like Jane Eyre, it is written in the first person perspective. And I am really seeking out books at the moment written in first person because I am currently writing a novel in first person, and it's been a long time since I've read first person novels, because almost all of the classics are written in third person, or the all-knowing narrator, and I guess it's just a way of getting inspired. So yes, Villette is on my list. By the way, I really love this cover. It's so beautiful. Beautiful painting. It's Two Ladies by Rosa Brett. Beautiful. Then I will be moving on to Tolkien. If you've been following me around, I mentioned that I want to read all of the Tolkien novels again this year, and so far I've read quite a few, but I still need to read The Children of Hurin and also The Fall of Numenor. For some reason this one is super heavy and this one is light. And I will be starting this one, I think, next week or this week even. I love that it has artwork in it. It's so beautiful. And one of my favorite things that I'm now doing is putting on images from the movies by Peter Jackson on the TV. And I'm putting on music of The Lord of the Rings by Howard Shore. And then I'm reading my books. And that is just the best thing ever. I'm having such a good time with this. So yes, 2 Tolkien books. Almost there. So 2 works by Homer, and I already started the Iliad. I also want to reread the Odyssey, but everyone is talking, like the whole internet seems to be talking about Homer's Odyssey right now because of the movie. I haven't seen it, so I cannot give you my opinion, but I already wanted to reread the Odyssey, but now that everyone's talking about it, I know I'm weird, but it kind of puts me off, and I will read it at another moment. But I started reading the Iliad a couple of days ago, and my first experience with the Iliad was, I think 4 years ago or 3 years ago. I read it also during summer, which was the perfect season for me to read the Iliad. And now I wanted to do the same, so I wanted to read it in summer. Started it a few days ago, and this translation, the first one I read was by Robert Fagles, and it keeps the poetry form. But this one is a translation in prose. I am so excited to read the story of the Iliad in prose. And for some reason, I think I will like this more. I don't know. It's a translation from Yves Rieu. Is this a Frenchman? I don't know. Rieu? I want to say Rieu. No idea. And it's from 1950. Beautiful edition, by the way. And yes, I started this. This is my bookmark from my cat Toulouse, which was a gift. So yes, currently reading the Iliad, and then the Odyssey will be for some time later when the hype has died down, I guess. I'm really happy, by the way, that everyone's talking about the Odyssey, because I hope that the movie will lead more people to the original work. And maybe it's a ridiculous hope, but I really hope that it will lead more people to Homer's work. Okay, another one I want to reread desperately, oh so desperately, is Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And it's actually still in the packaging because it's kind of a recent book. I recently purchased it because I want to reread it this autumn. I cannot wait. This is the one I'm most excited for. It's by Peter Popper Press. They also do journals, and they are just as beautiful. Look at this. It also feels very luxurious, and I'm so in love with the nature theme. It is stunning. It also has gilded edges, and there is so much wisdom and so much love for nature in Walden. It was one of the best reads. Did I read it this year? I think I read it at the beginning of the year and I already want to reread it. So it was really impressive to me. There's also another work in here. It's on the duty of civil disobedience. And I'm sorry to say that I don't know anything about that. If you do, let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of curious what that's about. And then my two final books of my beloved Victor Hugo. Of course, I'm going to read The Hunchback again. I do so every year. And there's a new, I'm holding up the edition of Shakespeare and Company in Paris. It's a bookstore and they do this exclusive edition that you can only buy there. It has a stamp, I think. Yes. Here it is. It's beautiful. I love this edition so much. I wish it was hardcover though. But there's a new translation coming in, I think, September. And I might read that one. I'm not sure yet. I think I want to read an excerpt first before I actually purchase the translation. But I probably will not be able to resist. Anyway, it could be that I read this translation by Shakespeare and Company. But I think it's abridged. Because this cannot be the entire book. I'm sorry, that cannot be the entire book. And I hate it when editions are not clearly stating if it's the full edition or the abridged. But it's translated and edited by John Sturrock. It doesn't say if it's abridged or not. But I just cannot believe this is the full edition. But anyway, I do want to read this one. And then another one by Hugo I want to reread desperately is The Man Who Laughs. I also read this one in New Zealand. I just realized. That's so funny. But yes, it's a big novel. It doesn't look that big, but it's quite a struggle to get through. And fun fact, my cat's name, Dea, is inspired by one of the characters in this book. This is about a mutilated man called Gwynplaine. And this mutilated boy finds a baby in the snow. But because of the snowstorm, she is blind. And so he saves her and they are looking for shelter. And as he's looking for shelter, he ends up with a man who runs a carnival. The boy, because he's so horribly mutilated, becomes an attraction. And the boy and the girl fall in love. But there's all kinds of things going on. And there's a lot of politics in this book that I don't really, that I wasn't really interested in the first place. I think this is one of the most difficult books of Hugo because of the digressions full of politics. But the story itself is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And when I was looking for a name for my kitten, I was browsing through my Victor Hugo novels because I just really wanted a name linked to his books. And when I grabbed this copy and I saw Dea, I thought, that's perfect. So yes, this is going to be a perfect winter read. And I think I also want to go looking for another translation. I wouldn't mind reading this one again, but you know, if I can get a different translation, I certainly will. This is the mint editions and I find these covers so ugly. They're so ugly. Anyway, those were the books that I desperately want to reread. As always, I hope to see you next week.